All right, so welcome back to Insider Ecom Edge. We are going to be taking a deep dive today into, the world of e-commerce podcasts. And, we talk a lot about e-commerce and a lot of the strategies that people use on this show, but we don't often take a look at, the podcasts that are doing it right.
Right.
So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be looking at Shopify Masters as our example, which has seen, a surge in popularity, especially over the last year or so. Millions and millions of downloads.
I mean, it's crazy how popular that show has gotten.
Yeah.
For sure. So
Absolutely.
we need to be asking ourselves, what is the magic formula here?
Right.
How are they doing it? What can we learn from them? And how can we apply that to our own businesses and, maybe even our own podcasts if we're thinking about starting one?
Yeah. I mean, that's the question, right?
Yeah.
What can we learn? I mean, everyone's trying to figure out the secret sauce and how to implement it for their own shows.
Right. And one thing that really jumps out to me about Shopify Masters is that they don't really rely on a lot of flashy gimmicks.
Yeah.
It's all about very fundamental, very consistent strategies that they've been using.
Right.
And, when we break it down, it kind of boils down to three things, right? One is it's their guest selection.
Okay.
Right. Who are they having on the show?
Interesting.
The second is it's their focus on providing practical advice, not just talking about things in theory, but, really delivering actionable stuff. And then, lastly, it's how they've cultivated this really strong sense of community.
Oh, okay.
Among their listeners.
Interesting. Okay, so let's break these down then. Let's start with this first one.
Sure.
The guests, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
You look at their guest list. I was looking at it earlier today, and I mean, wow. They've got entrepreneurs from huge brands like Bombas Socks, Cirque du Soleil, even Rare Beauty, Selena Gomez's brand.
Right.
So clearly they're able to pull in some really big names.
Yeah.
But is that really all it is? Or are they doing something else with the guests that they select?
Right. So, I mean, big names certainly help. It's great for, marketing and for getting attention. But the real magic of Shopify Masters guest selection, I think, is in the stories that these entrepreneurs tell.
Okay.
Right? So it's not just about, oh, look how successful I am. It's more about their journey.
Right.
Right? What were the challenges they faced? When did they fail? When did they have to, pivot and change direction? And by showcasing those, authentic, experiences, they're able to give the listeners, very real, tangible takeaways that they can actually apply to their own business. Because, we've all been there.
Right.
We all have our own struggles and challenges.
Yeah.
And hearing someone who's, maybe achieved a certain level of success talk about those things, it's really valuable.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. It's one thing to hear about strategies in theory, but it's totally different, to learn from someone who's actually been there.
Totally. And it's not just oh, here's my success story, bye. The hosts do a really great job at extracting actionable advice.
Okay.
Right? They ask these really targeted questions that get to the why behind the what.
Interesting.
So, for instance, they might delve into a marketing campaign that failed.
Right.
And they'll, spend time analyzing it with the guests. Okay, what went wrong? What lessons did you learn? And that's gold, right?
Yeah.
For listeners who are trying to avoid, making those same mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's almost like they're providing both inspiration, right, from these big name guests.
Yep.
But also very practical guidance. Hey, here's what you need to do. Here's what you should avoid.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned this other aspect, right? This community aspect.
Yeah.
So how does Shopify Masters go beyond just delivering the content and actually cultivate this sense of belonging among its listeners?
Yeah. So they do a couple of things that are really clever. First of all, they regularly feature listener questions.
Okay.
Right. So it's they're having a direct dialogue with their audience.
Mm-hmm.
And, it makes the listeners feel like they're part of the conversation.
Yeah.
And then, they also have a very consistent release schedule. They release new episodes twice a week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, it creates this rhythm. It's like tuning into your favorite radio show.
Right.
You know what to expect and when to expect it.
Yeah, no, I think that consistency is really key, especially in the world of podcasts where there's just so much content out there.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Right. It's not just about getting the downloads. It's about keeping those listeners engaged, coming back for more.
Absolutely. And I think it's really that combination, right? Of
Right.
the content, the advice, the community, the consistency, all of that together
Yeah.
is really what fuels Shopify Masters' success. It's like a recipe, right? Where all the ingredients are perfectly balanced and it
Yeah.
leaves listeners feeling, not just informed,
Mm-hmm.
but also, motivated and like they're part of something bigger.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. So, I mean, to recap, Shopify Masters, they've kind of cracked the code, right? They've got these insightful guests, actionable advice, and then like a strong community vibe.
Hmm.
And then it's all delivered consistently. Okay, so I guess that leaves us with one final question to think about. And this is for you, the listener. Like, imagine your ideal customer hitting play on your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
What story are you telling them?
Yeah.
What value are you offering that's going to make them not only hit subscribe, but keep coming back for more?
Absolutely.
All right, that's it for today's deep dive. We'll see you next time
See you later.
on Insider Ecom Edge.
Bye.